Hi, I'm Angela Fair. As a watercolor artist, I often say that I'm collaborating with paint and pigment to create my loose and fluid paintings. I've learned that a great team makes painting easier, and by team I mean the materials I work with to create my paintings. Artist quality paint and paper just help me get a better result, and whether you're an intermediate watercolorist, very experienced, or just getting started, you will find that your paintings go a lot easier when you're not fighting with poor or student quality materials. For the last several months, I've been using Indigo Art Papers watercolor paper to create many of my paintings and sketches, and I'd like to share my findings with you today. Indigo has provided me with some paper to review, and I'm going to focus on the 300-pound cold press watercolor paper since that's the one I have the most experience with. Indigo Art Paper is based in Canada but made in India, and their priority is to create fine artist quality paper that minimizes harm to the environment. They use no bleach in their paper making process, choosing instead to spend a little more on the whitest grade of cotton. The paper is handmade and has a handmade feel, with slight variations in size, shape of the edges, and the weave, and it's strong. I use the full sheets, 22 by 30 inches, and the 300-pound weight, and I cannot tear this paper. I have to cut it. This strength benefits an artist like me who paints with a lot of water. I want a paper that can handle that, and Indigo holds up beautifully. Let's look at the surface of my Indigo paper. I've noticed that the two sides of the paper are slightly different in how they handle water and pigment. Most papers are. And while I paint on the back if I mess up on the front, I find that the front, which is a little less textured and has a bit more sheen, is a bit less absorbent, so the paint has more time to flow on the paper. And the texture is beautiful. When I'm using sedimentary pigments, like Cobalt Violet from Daniel Smith, the pigment settles into the weave and the texture becomes part of the painting. In watercolor, I'm always trying to find ways to create texture on flat paper, so I love how the paper cooperates with me. A few things to remember. Like any watercolor paper, Indigo will buckle a bit when wet, so I like to tape or clip my paper to my painting board. The 140-pound weight is thinner, and so it will ripple more than the heavier 300-pound. So if you stretch your paper, you won't want to change your method. Like all watercolor paper, the ripples do mostly flatten out as the paper dries, and you can smooth it further with careful ironing. Being handmade, Indigo Art Paper has a bit of an edge. I find that the weave changes slightly and the shape isn't completely straight. So I like to allow a margin around my painting rather than painting right up to the edge. This also makes my paintings easier to frame. I have used both the cotton and the cotton flax blend, and I find that while both handle paint in a similar way, I prefer the cotton because it's a bit whiter. The flax blend has a creamy ivory hue, which is also beautiful, but I do like the whiter paper. And though it's unbleached, I don't find the cotton paper to be any darker than my other brands of watercolor paper. Even though it's been just a few months since I tried Indigo Art Paper, I've already painted many paintings I love on my Indigo paper. Something about the surface just works for my style of painting, and if a paper can make painting easier for me, well, I know it's a keeper. I want to thank Indigo Art Paper for providing me with paper to review, and you can purchase Indigo Art Paper at Dick Blick in the United States or the Paint Spot in Canada, and I'll have links in the description below. Or if you can't find it in your area, do ask your local retailer to stock it. Let's make Indigo really successful all over the world, and then it'll be easy to find. And you can visit Indigo online at indigoartpapers.com. I'm Angela Fair. Thanks for watching.